It's Friday. It's Friday. It's the end of the work week. And it means that you get to, for most people, have the weekend, or what I call the strong end, to just get off work, feel good, take care of you, get some rest and relief. And like Laura, she's going to celebrate her birthday on Sunday. It's going to be 25. Big up hello to everyone. I'm going to talk a little bit about, and I'm going to break it down super simple, cold, flu, and stomach bug. Catching that crud, that extreme crud that's going around. Okay? Crud is going around. Bless up. Good to see you, Suze. So, the crud that's going around everywhere you go. I go to the gym in this rise this morning, and I hear people talking about the crud that's going around and the stomach bug and the flus and the colds. And I'm thinking, okay, we just got over Easter, and a lot of eating, a lot of our holidays revolve around getting together and lots of munching and eating, just like I was munching on these vegan, non-GMO blue corn chips. Oh my gosh. If you're feeling like you're just having some crunchy needs, you need to just crunch and release feelings or whatever it is, these organic blue non-GMO corn chips, you don't want to eat corn too much, but on a rare occasion, bam, they're amazing. Okay. Louis Pasteur is really the most well-known for the most accredited, accepted form of science in the medical world that rules everything to do with pathogenic illness, meaning that we caught it. It was going around, and why do you think this is one of the most subscribed to theories? And that is because it absents you. It takes you out of the blame for whatever's going on with you. And if we can take you out of the blame, that's why mind, body, or psychosomatics was removed, right? Ever since Sigmund Freud and before. And I know you might want to bash Sigmund Freud because, God, we know he's a sexist. Think about the time period that he wrote. But in my course, Crucial Keys to Unlocking Disease, it's a 5.5-hour course. This is for someone who really wants to become a mind-body coach only. Do this course. It's on my website. But mind-body was removed, and so was responsibility. So much of what ends up happening to us and with us has to do with our thoughts, but that's not the only thing. It also has to do with the fact that it's not necessarily bacteria and viruses that are getting us and getting us sick. It's not catching what's going around. And I'm going to show you why. But I'm also going to take a moment to give you credit and explain or relate that I learned this myself from someone I really greatly respect. I've got his book on my shelf over there. And when I became an herbalist in the year 2000, 19 years ago, so yeah, I'm old, in Santa Cruz, California, at the American School of Herbalism, Michael Tierra, who's super respected by me, and I know by a whole lot of other people, he wrote the book, The Way of Herbs, and I have it on my shelf. He said, in one of my first herbal classes, and I had to bring little Zawa, my son, along with me. He had to come with mama because I couldn't afford a babysitter, a child care person, and right, he was like 4 or 5. So he came along and he learned kind of how to be an herbalist too, which I thought was kind of cool. But he said right there in that classroom, in the first meetings that we had, he said, colds are a cleansing opportunity. So all of a sudden I was like, wait a minute, because I'd always use that same language. I caught a cold. I caught the flu. I caught that crud that's going around. I caught the stomach bug, but that's not really what it was. And until that day, so there I was in my 40s. Yeah, 40s. My goodness, I'm that old. And I'm becoming an herbalist, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, that means oh, whoa, okay. So it's my body that needs to expel stuff out. So I quickly went over and Googled, like we all do, right? And I came up and I wrote down some things because I thought, what if somebody asked me a question? What if I'm not really totally in touch with what is considered to be definitive signs for the cold, the flu, and the stomach bug? So let's look at a moment. A cold is a runny or a stuffy nose. It's a cough, and usually we're coughing up phlegm. It's congestion. We know what congestion is, right? It's like you can't really breathe really well. It's slight body aches. It is mild headache, and it doesn't have to be all these, right? It is sneezing. And I have found, especially going and becoming an herbalist, which you can too, but you don't even have to pay thousands of dollars like I did. The way the world is set up today, you can learn it yourself for free online. I mean, really, unless you need to have the certification. Sneezing happens if you're going to eat sugar the day before. Just watch. Even if it's like I was when I was under a lot of stress with a family member and I was stopping at Starbucks and I was starting to get a lot of those lattes and stuff with all those pumpy syrups in there. Bless up. Good to see you, Kim. Yay, Kim is here. Suzanne's here. Great to see you guys. So sneezing, I was sneezing in the morning because I was getting those lattes and those mochas. I was getting them with almond or coconut milk. And I mean, oh my gosh, they tasted so good. And it was winter and they were good food drugs. Oh my God, they tasted amazing. But I had a price to pay. Okay, so sneezing is part of a cold. A low-grade fever might be part of a cold. And general malaise, just, not feeling so good, right? That's a cold. Let's go into what is the flu. A flu is a fever over 100.4 degrees. It's aching muscles. It's chills and sweats. When you have the flu, you see someone kind of bundled up and they're like, oh, I'm freezing. And you're like, you're kidding. It's absolutely hot outside, but they're freezing to death, because their body's going hot and cold. Why? Their thyroid is going, hey, man, I need a break. And I'm going to show you why. Okay. You might have a dry, persistent cough if you have the flu. These are all the symptoms that they've got kind of, laid out. You might have nasal congestion, so you're like, you're not really talking very clearly and you can't really breathe so good in there. And you might have a sore throat. You might have some of these, but you might not have all of these, okay? Now, the stomach bug, because we did the cold and the flu. The stomach bug, watery, non-bloody diarrhea. How many times have you heard someone say, oh my God, I can't go to work today. I've got that freaking stomach bug that's going around. I know. Oh my God, I know, girl. Everybody's got that stomach bug. Oh my gosh, it's horrible, right? You've got maybe abdominal cramps. You might have some abdominal pain. You might be like, oh God, my gut, it feels horrible. Oh geez, my God. You might have nausea. You might even be vomiting. You might be hurling and you might be feeling horrible. You might have also some muscle aches. You might have some low-grade fever. What do all of these have in common? Your body, so intelligent, it's trying so hard to clean itself out, to get rid of things it doesn't want. And since we don't, many of us, I didn't for a long time in my life, schedule an opportunity for us to clean ourselves out. Just like you'd probably take the dog to go get worming at the veterinarian, right? Or maybe you do the worming yourself at home like I do with diatomaceous earth. What did you ever do to worm yourself? You've been going 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 years, but what did you do to ever worm you? Which is why I'm using the herbal antibiotic. And there's a great book called Herbal Antibiotics that talks about how to use garlic, but I'll tell you for free because I've done it for decades now. It's not hard. In fact, it's $3.55 for a big bunch of organic garlic and ginger. Blah, blah. Got stuck there. So let's look at the signs and that we are in a detoxification, because I've been detoxifying me, and I'm doing it again right now. You can see it in my skin, my eyes, my hair, the curl, the thickness is popping, my energy's starting to pop, my hands are looking better, my skin's much better, massage for 16 years and my joints are still really good. You don't hear cracking and popping. I'll go next to the microphone. The gut's going away. I still got some gut down here. I was showing Laura yesterday. But detoxification, bowel disruption. Ooh, that's a big fancy word. Sounds like things are not so good in the bowel. So it could be what? Diarrhea. It could be like a little rumbling and you kind of got some loose stools a little bit. Could be, some super low grade headaches. Not too common, but it does happen. Could be gas and bloating. I know when I started and I was getting off those lattes and those mochas and those pretzels and those things that I was eating because I was doing wrong things. I had gas and bloating. My stomach bloated way out and I took pictures of it at the gym. I kind of waited till no one was in there. And then I kind of stood sideways and I took my camera and I took a picture because I thought, I want people to be able to believe me that this was me in April and this was me in June or July. Okay. Because then just like with Kim and with Suzette and many people, you'll be able to see it for yourself. Okay. So what else? Oh, skin, what did I say now? Oh, skin irritation. You could have little tiny rashes. You could be kind of itchy. You could be like, I had that. I even had some on my ear. I mean, I was thinking, geez, Karen, you are a hot mess. But thank God, that's what I do for a living. So since I got myself into that hot mess, I'm going to get myself out of that hot mess. But what if you don't even know that you got a hot mess going on inside of you? What if you're like, well, okay, so I'm probably like about 20. Well, maybe really it's 40 pounds overweight. Right now I'm 30 pounds overweight and you're looking at me probably going, nah, but you don't see the part that I'm hiding under the table right now that I just kind of showed you up here that has to get rid of, okay? So when you do things that are not necessarily in your best interest, it's easy, okay? I'm going to show you how to drop the weight. You'll never have headaches and migraines again. You won't be saying, oh, I caught that crud that's going around. I caught the cold. And the poor little young children that are always getting blamed for those little nose blowing things are running around and they're getting me sick. And the grandparents are going, oh God, I knew I shouldn't have gotten around the grandchildren again because they get me sick every time. They're like a little germ festival. I'm going to tell you why, as we go along. They're not just a germ festival, but they're snotty and mucusy because we're vaccinating the crap out of them and we're feeding them all kinds of mucus and we're starting them with baby formula. Moms are pulling off for breastfeeding because it's really hard on moms too, and they got to go back to work and they need to have something to simplify their life. It's absolutely, terrifying as a mom for some of us to think about, leaving our babies and going back to work. It just ripped me up inside. And that was another one of the times that I had to repair myself and hopefully will one day be able to help my son with that. Detoxification also produces cravings because we're used to eating the sugar and the caffeine and the processed foods. And I'm telling you what, I told myself as of April the 15th, that's it. You're not getting another warm, soft, gooey pretzel. You're not going to do these things. And even when winter drug on in Northeast Minnesota, and I was thinking, oh my God, are you kidding me? I want a pretzel so bad because now I was used to it. It was giving me just feelings of satiety and you don't have any worries in the world. It would make me kind of sleepy, kind of dopey because of all the wheat and everything in there. And it really violated everything that I stand for because I knew that inside I wanted to, rebirth me. I wanted to get me back. So a detoxification is the same thing that you're looking at with a cold, a flu, and a stomach bug. There really is no distinction. So you don't even need to call it a cold, except that when you're out communicating with other people for others to be able to understand you, you're going to say, well, it's just a cold, right? So now, God forbid, you go out there and you're detoxing like I have been for many weeks. You go to the sauna and you're like, you're coughing all that stuff up from your bronchioles and down into your channels, of your lungs. That's what I did. Went into the sauna. That thing's about 130 degrees or up to 180 degrees. And as I laid down, the stuff would just roll. And, all of a sudden you just feel like you need to cough and cough and cough. And you're swallowing the stuff back down, which isn't really pleasant to talk about. I get it. But that's what detoxification is. So when people have a cold, a flu, or the stomach bug, what's really going on is their body, and these are the same people that will tell you those kind of foods don't really bother me. I don't have any problem with that. They just, I can see that they bother you and you need to eat differently. But as you can see, I'm fine. But what happens is get an eating festival, the garlic festival or the blueberry festival or the cranberry festival or any one of these things, and get them out and start eating a lot of sugar, and you're going to sort of start a chain reaction where all of a sudden the body goes, woo, okay, that was really stimulating. So minerals are stimulating or sedating, okay? Even your water is stimulating or sedating. Your hard water, right, regular water, is sedating. It's relaxing you. Soft water that people have in their homes, in case you're coaching people or whatever, is stimulating, right? It's a different water entirely. So now I want to turn this over because I had something else in mind that I wanted to share with you. So a person with a fast metabolism, we would want to not have that person drinking soft water in their home. So sometimes a client will tell me, oh, I have soft water, and I've seen their hair test and their metabolism is fast, and I don't want them to be doing that, where otherwise it might not bother someone who's in parasympathetic dominance, which meaning they have a slow metabolism. Slow metabolism just means that your adrenals and your thyroid is working on the slower side. It's slow and sluggish, okay? All right. So a long time ago, you just have to take my word for this, we used to breathe a much more liquid air, an etheric air, an ether. And it was much more conductive, and it was much more facilitating for our glands, our upper glands, and our intuitive abilities. Copper is a real signal enhancer in your brain. That's a really hot tip I'm going to give you right now, okay? So it doesn't mean you got to run out and start taking copper, okay? Because if you don't know, there we go, okay. If you don't know what your trace elemental balance is right now, like I had a lady this morning who wanted to hire me to just write out a diet plan for her. And I said, it really would be better use of your money, since you want to spend about $100. It would be much better if you first go to my website, and the order of operations, it works really well so that I can show you the best results possible instead of me just sort of writing something out without really having good insight about you, is to go to my website and click on the consults and fill out the wellness form. Click submit, and even if you're not ready to get started right now, I've got all the information about you, okay? Now when you're ready, you can order the hair test. Now I'm going to email you when that hair test packet comes in from the lab. Immediately, same day, within hours, the minute I see it, bam, I email it out to you. You can look at it. It's going to show you everything you need to know. Then we can figure out without guessing. We don't want to guess, okay? So you might be really, really high in zinc and really low, or the zinc and copper ratio that's going to make you much more intuitive, much more psychic. So you can do a lot of the things that I'm doing right now through the knowledge that I've learned. You can do it too. Okay, I guarantee you can do it too. In fact, I want you to do it, because if I just were selfish and I said, I just want to do these things and I don't want you to do them, what's going to happen? We're not going to have people that then start to really get very tuned and start to sense what's going on in the world. And this is why the Western medical industry relies upon you believing that you have no personal responsibility, not about your thoughts, so no psychosomatic mind body, not about your diet, not what you're putting in your mouth, because what? The food drugs and the drugs that are being dispensed out of the pharmacy, and the drugs that are being injected in your arm that you call a vaccine, and the drugs that are being given to your children and the drugs that are being sold over the counter every time you've got all this excess mucus and you go out and buy Mucinex. You get constipated and you buy constipation over the counter things. You go and you buy Malox, which is loaded with aluminum. You go and you buy Tums, which goes in and disrupts your calcium levels. You go in and you do these things, and it's going to drive you deeper and deeper into the funnel, the business funnel that is Western allopathy. Okay? I want you to know this because the more of you that start realizing, wait a minute, I think she's right. The symptoms for detoxification are the same symptoms as they are for the cold and the flu and the stomach bug. They're not identical, but they all have to do with your bowels needing to release out junk, right? Your head having a little bit of pain as it kind of clears out. And I wrote a story on my social media wall about a little girl who died of a brain tumor. And I want to tell you that when your intuitive abilities are very great, you'll be able to use your hands for what they actually are, your God-given sensors. These are your God-given sensors. That means that when you do energy work, whether you call it healing touch or Reiki, or you just call it energy work like I do, I have hundreds and hundreds of people that have come through my doors in over 16 years that can attest to the fact that they had miraculous healings. Not because I'm a prophet or trying to be the Messiah or anything like that, but because we heal each other, right? So you heal your child. You place your hands around the temples and you send energy to another living, breathing vehicle, like we talked about 2 days ago, your vehicle. If you didn't catch that, you can go back 2 days ago and look at my live stream called Your Vehicle. But what's happened with Western medicine even goes a little further, because when you start reading, you're going to start, well, Anne Hathaway just got off of veganism, right? She didn't feel full and she didn't feel like she got enough. This is poppycock. And I can absolutely refute with certainty on an empirical level that this is absolutely habitual, meaning that if a person is raised on a standard American diet, the mind wants to go back to what feels familiar. You've also got to account for the fact that the system needs you to stay in allegiance with what it is selling you. And it keeps selling our people things that are dumbing them down, dimming their immune systems. Their own immune systems are attacking their own self, which is AIDS, lupus, Graves, Hashimoto's. Should I keep going? Rheumatoid arthritis. All of these things, you rarely ever heard about them in the 40s and 50s, and for darn good reason. Because starting in the 1950s, they started selling you Wonder Bread. They started selling you Bayer Children's aspirin. They started selling you all these products that started really wreaking havoc with your entire body. And not only did they say, it has nothing to do with your thoughts, you just caught a pathogen. So people go into becoming a pathologist, which is a type of doctor, because this very suspect bacteria can only be seen through a microscope, right? It's so powerful, we can only see it through a microscope. So someone is going to come along and say, what about Ebola? And I'm going to tell you that it's my firm, not soft, opinion that many of these things are historically noted by me as insertions, meaning that someone took them and inserted them into our reality, right? No different than what happened with smallpox and the blankets, no different than what happened with anthrax, which has been used as a weapon, and no different than Ebola, which was taken over to Liberia especially, right? And that land where all of the Ebola victims were was mysteriously sold for rock bottom, dirt bottom, almost giveaway. Just take it. We don't want it. It was Ebola land. So there's always some kind of a motive under something. But what about really helping people? When does that really come into account? So not only that, but detoxification is kind of getting that woo-woo, right? That woo-woo, that kind of pseudoscience. But let me tell you something. I'm going to give you a super short nutshell. I have taken people for many, many, many years. And when I have the opportunity to first gather, meaning I got to ask them the questions, are you getting vaccines recently? What kind of medications are you on? I research them. What are you eating on a daily basis? How do you sleep at night? Do you have a sex drive? What's your blood type? These things don't take very long. Depending on the complexity of your issue, they might take 1 to 3 sessions, but we're also using some of your time in a 45-minute standard session to also give you some tools to start working with. Now, then after the stabilization, meaning now your gut's functioning okay, you're not going through the cold, flu, or stomach bug or detoxification symptoms, we've stabilized you, got you onto a probiotic. I've recommended the right probiotic for you based on what you were experiencing. I've researched your diagnosis and I've explained to you piece by piece, step by step, the order of operations that we're probably going to follow. And why is it a probably? Because no one person goes through the next phase, phase 3, detoxification, in an absolute, this is it for absolutely every single person. Everyone is unique, right? Your thumbprints are unique. The swirl on the back of your head is unique, but we are now in a world where a lot of folks have been developmentally changed. Their spine, their body, their size, most of it relating to thyroid, because that's got to give ATP or energy to every cell. So now the chi and the prana energy is looked at as woo-woo. Why is that? That's because the deeper and the deeper that we go without giving ourselves scheduled detoxification, right? Instead of saying, oh, I just got diagnosed with diabetes, but I had hypoglycemia 3 years ago. I had all the signs. I mean, every time I went to urinate in the toilet, I was smelling sugar. So you see, this is one of the first things before I was 5 years old that my maternal grandmother, Etna, she worked at the VA hospital in Menlo Park and EPA, East Palo Alto, if you know where that is. It's an area where a lot of white folks never wanted to go. So she used to work over there, and she would tell me, Karen, there's a problem if when a person urinates, you can smell the sugar. So for me, it might seem kind of gross, but it's just habitual now, just like a dog does, right? You probably hear fire snoring. When I urinate in the toilet, because my bronchioles are getting clearer and clearer like they normally are, I can smell, and I'm attuned to being able to smell at a higher level, just like my intuition is at a higher level, and so will yours. So now you can smell if there's a lot of excess sugar dumping out of your urine. For the same reason, someone who's got depression is going to be taking a lot of, I have clients that are on 2 and 3 antidepressants, anti-inflammatories, pain medication, the polypharmacy, many medications, the layers to those is enormous, and what it's doing to our people absolutely smacks of the worst ramifications possible over time. Okay, good to see you, Chance. Chance is here too. Okay, so putting people into a way of thinking so that it's in the schools, it's in the medical industry, it's in the pharmacy, it's in the science, it's in the TEDx talks. Everywhere you go, you're almost a charlatan or a pseudoscience or someone who's unbelievable if you say, wait a minute, your body has been eating food chemicals. It has heavy metals. Almost every body that I test has heavy metals. And if the nutritional elements like your calcium, potassium, and sodium and all that are deranged, right, then your mercury might not even be showing up correctly until we mobilize and excrete, meaning get some of the backup that's being stored in your liver, where you make a lot of your hormones out of what? Cholesterol. Okay, so let me see what else I was going to share with you. So nutraceuticals, okay, when you detoxify, Nutraceuticals, all these really big words, and sometimes even today people will say, what the hell does that word mean? Oh my God, why do we have to? But fulvic acid, which is kind of a more relatively new supplement, is like the humus for your soil when you're planting your plants. You are made out of earth. You're the clay of the earth. You can scrub as I'm doing. I've showed you 3 times now. My hand was really starting to get those brown aging spots. I'm 2 years away, 2 years and 2 months from being 60, so I'm preparing myself. I'm getting the lunula and the moons a little fuller on my fingers, okay? I'm going to shed the rest of the extra 30 pounds and get rid of kind of the jowls here a little bit, tone things up. And I also scrub my neck like I describe in my book, because you are earth and soil. This is a huge, 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 huge tip, and people don't do this. So please listen and make note to this before we go. You can get, let me get you mine. I'm going to show you something really quickly, okay? I'm going to show you something that I like a lot, okay? These. Have you seen these before? Give me a thumbs up if you've seen these before. And if you haven't, you can go to Dollar Tree and get them for $1 a piece. Have you guys seen these before? Okay. So here's what you're going to do. You're going to put this glove on your hand. The first time I was using them, it was like, oh, they're super scratchy. Oh my gosh, right? You're going to take your soap, whether it's a bar soap or it's liquid soap or whatever it is. And what I like to do is, I know I got a pink and blue one, and I got Anthony a green one. When I go to the gym, I do an hour on the elliptical and I listen to YouTube videos because there's 3 TVs in front of me and I don't want to watch the TV, although periodically I look up and I think, oh, I haven't seen TV in so long. That's what's going on, right? You okay, Bob? Okay, so then after I do my hour on the elliptical, I go into the locker room. I take all those sweaty clothes off because I'm actually wearing, I was looking for it, I'm actually wearing a knit beanie, that Hollister beanie that I got for $3 on a clearance rack. And I go in, I get out of bed, take my probiotic, and I walk down there if it's good enough, right? Because I'm not going to burn the fossil fuels. It's not that far from my house. And I walk down there like this morning, this rise, about 7:05. I do my hour. Sometimes I do more. I put it on level 10 because I'm getting back into the groove, going hard. I go into the locker room. I take the sweaty clothes off. I take the thing off my hair. I take anything I've got in there, right? And I'm, out of bed and whatever. And then I jump in the shower. And I put my towel and my swimsuit. I've got a swimsuit that, is a little more modest, which is kind of cool. There's like strings coming off of here. I jump in the shower and I put soap all over these guys. And then I kind of very gently do my face. I know you're not supposed to, but trust me, it works. And this is the big tip. I'm going to tell you, it's absolutely freaking phenomenal. Take that scrubby. I put African black soap, the Alafia African black soap. I buy the big bottle. When it's on sale is when I buy it, when it's like $10. Because I want the pure black soap, and that pumpy stuff, if I forget my soap, is full of foamy chemicals and yucky stuff in it, and I don't want to put that on me. So I put my little black soap on there, and then I really do this. Okay? And I scrub all under here, and I open it up. So my thyroid and also this area here, your whole décolleté, right? So that I can get my soil to breathe like it needs to. Then I pull these guys off, they're all wet. And I'm all rinsed off, and I go jump in the sauna. It's typically about 100, I think it's 180 degrees. I'm trying to remember. It's hot, okay? I lay my towel down, and I lay down for about 10, 15 minutes, depending on how much time I have, right? I needed to get to the business coach today. Then I come home, and I've got a wood rack behind the computer, and I put these up to dry. So then that night or the next rise, I can get up and put everything in my gym bag and take it with me again, and I don't forget it. And it's very hard to do. I get it when you have young children. But instead of going to the gym, you could go out for a really nice, super long walk, which is what I did after my business coach meeting. And you could do that. Okay. So that was kind of everything. I don't know. Let's see. I'm going to put my glasses on and see if there's any questions. It says there's 4 people watching or more. Oh, awesome. You do that when you urinate too. Yeah. So whether I urinate or defecate, I'm always, taking a smell because, that's what we're doing. We're taking our inventory, right? You want to go vegan for a season. Okay. Well, what I'm going to do, Kim, is if they want to go vegan for a season, is I'm going to encourage them to do it. And I'm going to just try to do my very best to keep them optimistic, because I believe that after they experience how good they feel and then they go back, I warn every one of my clients for 25 years now, right? Because I've been growing in this too. I warn them, I'm like, if you go back to eating the way that you used to, and you start, eating dairy again, and you start eating cheese again and all those things, you're going to feel so tore up, just like I did, right? 35 years ago, I started being a very strict vegan. Before I had my son, going almost 24 years ago, before I had Zawa, and cleaned my womb before I had him, with the exception of my dental work, was the only thing I didn't do. And now I realize how important that was. So when I write and finish Clean Womb is the book I want to do to help women optimize, becoming pregnant, the preconception stuff, and how to get uterine fibroids out, which is actually pretty easy, but you do need to follow a plan and you do need some coaching, but not difficult. Okay. So, I want to encourage them. I want to keep them optimistic. And I also want to warn them that when you do this type of a daily habit, this diet, it's very unforgiving when you go back. So getting caught up with the heroin and fentanyl addiction and helping someone out and, kind of daily life or death kind of a thing, the stress and the stress hormones were so high for me. And I would, I'm glad that I did it. I have no regrets. Keeping someone alive that I love so much means everything to me. But it was intense, very, very intense. So do you guys have any more questions? Because when your clients, your people, your tribe, your pack, I use the word sound pack. When they are all around you and they're talking about how they caught the cold and they caught the crud and they caught the flu and they caught the stomach bug, remind them that these always come after Valentine's, Thanksgiving, Christmas, and all those. I don't do holidays for a great many years. When my son was really young, I didn't want to be, the whole Scrooge. And so we kind of did a really modified version. We brought in a little organic rosemary bush when we lived in Santa Cruz. And one year we went out and he got to cut down a tree at a tree farm, because I was always the mom that was now here in Minnesota that was so radically different. And a business coach was talking, this rise today about how, we are really powerful mothers. And who do our children have? I mean, when there was racism in the schools and there was inappropriate behavior, and I had my second set of dreadlocks that were free-forming, I'm sure I probably scared the hell out of the middle school principal, Tom Brenner. But I went in there, and after repeatedly being eye-rolled and dismissed, I went in there and I said, sit the hell down right now. I'm not playing with you. You know what I mean? So having a powerful mother, having a mother who says you're not going to the zoo because we're not going to pay to go see animals that are enslaved to sit there for you to come in and, stare at them and gawk at them. We're not going to do these things, Zawa. And I want you to homeschool and unschool. And once they get into that institution, which is why I asked Kim to read the book, The Public Orphanage, you'll find out that it's a system that you later regret. If we would have lived in Santa Cruz and things would have worked out, maybe he would have stayed at the Santa Cruz Waldorf where I worked for a year. I really like the Waldorf schools. I like the Sudbury schools, Sudbury, the Sudbury schools. Have you heard of those, Kim? Mungo, have you heard of those? Have you heard of those schools at all, you guys? Or do you have another school that you think is really cool? I'm definitely not down on the, what are those other schools? I just blanked. Leah Rose has her son. They're also very popular and they're really based on work. Anyway, there's another type of school that I'm really not so fond of. But anyway, I'm going to let you guys go. I didn't want to keep it this long-winded as it was, but it seems like it always ends up that way. But I'll do my best to make them shorter. So have a beautiful day. I send you guys love. All right, so long.